Okay. Hey guys, this is Jason Morris here with the Facebook group Real Estate Agents That Really Work. And I'm doing this special call here today, Dave, for Amber and her office. Now, how to get more business without spending more money. So I want to tell you guys how to do that. First I want to tell you a little bit about me. Just so you know who, because I know that you guys aren't familiar with me, like Amber is. So guys, I am my name's Jason Morris. I grew up in a really tiny town called Alclue, South Carolina. And my town was really small. We had an Exxon gas station, and that's it. When it was dark, if you wanted something to eat, you just had to wait till tomorrow or drive like 30 minutes away. I mean, there wasn't anything there. My parents still live there. They live on like 350 acres. I mean, there's not much there except for it's mostly a farming. It's like a farming town. So um, I went to college. I went to Winthrop University, close to Charlotte, North Carolina. When I graduated, I decided I wanted to move to the beach, which is Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'd been here my whole life on vacation and stuff, and I had this idea that I could move down here. I could sell oceanfront condos, and I could just hang out at the beach all day. And I got a real estate license, but I didn't really know how things worked back then. So I was 22 years old. I just graduated college. I had no money. I had student loans. I knew nobody here. I didn't even know my next door neighbor. I had no sphere of influence. Most of my sphere of influence, was my age. They were 22 and right out of college, and we couldn't afford to buy a house. We had student loans we had to pay for. So fast forward a year or two. Um, I participated in multiple real estate developments. I've closed over 2,000 transactions. I've been a top 50 in North America. I founded the group Real Estate Agents That Really Work. I'm a best-selling author, and most importantly, I'm a dad. I've got a 4-month-old. Um, so I want to tell you guys how exactly I got here and how my career progressed. Okay, so I got started in the real estate business. It was 2003, 2004 in that area. Um, I met a guy in my real estate office, and this guy just hammered the phones literally nonstop. He was a machine. And it was just incredible. We'd have office meetings, and man, we'd go around the office talking about the new listings that week. And this guy was just one after another. He would list more by himself than the entire office list put together. It was insane. So I started following this guy. I knew whatever he was doing, I could do it, and I felt like I could do it better. So I started following him. He told me, he goes, "Hey man, you got to get on the phone. You got to start calling." So he gave me some Mike Ferry scripts. And that's what I did. I just got on the phone, and like I said, I was 22 years old. I didn't know any better, and I painfully made calls. I mean, I'd make calls like 3, 4 hours in the mornings without even taking a break, then jump right back on the phone after like a bathroom break. I'd get a bathroom break and a granola bar, a cup of coffee, and I'd be calling again. I mean, it was really, really painful. But fast forward 2006, I sold 115 properties, just me and a part-time assistant. And that was just me just getting on the phone, just hammering out numbers and hoping things worked it out. I didn't have a system. What I did was I basically used the Mike Ferry script. It was really crude the way I was doing it, and it was really not the best way. But I would just make a ton of calls and just tell them whatever I felt like they wanted to hear so I could get my foot in the door today. And like sometimes I'd go on 10 appointments in a week to list two. It kind of sucked, but I was making more money than I ever made in my life. I was making way more money than all my college friends and stuff. And that was in 2006. Fast forward 2007, it stopped. I'm talking about it didn't slow down. It didn't hit a speed bump and go sideways. It just stopped. And it fell like our market in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. We're a big second home market. And, before people quit paying more, I didn't know this. Before people quit paying mortgages on the house they live in, they quit paying mortgages on the investment condo they have on the beach, the rental house that they have, that's 6 hours away. That's the things they quit paying on first. I didn't know that. Our market was going down so fast. I would talk to a seller on Monday, tell him how if we listed their house for $200,000, it would be the cheapest one in the community. And I'd go out there, I'd list their house for $200,000. And then a week, 10 days later, I was having to call them back and go, hey, Mr. Seller, I'm really sorry, but I know I told you your house was worth $200,000, but one just came on the market that was owned by a bank for like 125. And even if we get a contract today, it's not going to appraise out. So I seen this pattern that we had done tremendous condo sales here in my market, and a lot of these people thought they were going to flip them, and they couldn't. So our market, our MLS, was full of units that were sitting empty. So I got this bright idea. My wife at the time, ex-wife now, my wife at the time wasn't really happy with her job, and in the state of South Carolina, you could get a property management license by just taking a weekend course. So I talked to her, and in the state of South Carolina, though, you cannot hold a real estate license and a property management license. You basically have to pick, or you have to be a broker in charge and start your own company. And I didn't really want to go out and start my own company. I just wanted to take advantage of these units sitting empty. So I talked to my ex-wife. We decided to, or my wife at the time, we decided to start a property management company. So what I did was I stuck it out on the phones, just like what I've been doing. And my conversation changed a little bit. And instead of telling people, hey, let's put your house on the market, I'd say, hey, I see your unit's rented and you need more, or it's sitting empty. Would you like to rent it? And what you need for it, there's no way possible we can get it in our market right now. Why don't you rent it out for a year or two, and hopefully you can sell it and break even. So at the beginning of 2007, we had 0 properties we managed. By the beginning of 2008, we had over 250 properties, and basically we had a real company. So in 2008, I got introduced to something that I'd never heard of before, and which was really new to our industry. I read a book called The 4-Hour Work Week. It was by Tim Ferriss. And basically the gist of the book is there's a lot of stuff in it about outsourcing things in your life, but there's also a lot of stuff in it about working remotely. You know, Tim Ferriss was the first person that I'd ever heard of that had this idea that you could do your job literally from anywhere. So I kept thinking about this, and to be honest with you, property management, I'd already learned by that time property management was hard and it was kind of labor intensive, and you had to have a lot of units to make, a fair amount of money. And what I started doing was I started working on websites. And by the end of 2008, I had 17 websites in my market, and I was generating leads in 4 markets outside of mine. I had recruited buyer's agents, and at the largest, I had 8 buyer's agents. I worked for a company called Exit Realty, which isn't nearly as big now as it was then. And my team was top 50 in the top 50 in North America for a couple of years in a row. And that didn't include the real estate, rental transactions I was doing and the rental lease agreements that I was doing, which were, I was probably doing about 250 sales a year plus about 225 leases a year. So we're doing upwards of 450 actual transactions a year, and only half of them were getting counted. And I was in the top 50 in North America with the company, which was amazing, by the way. I mean, here it was. I was this kid that grew up in this little town. I didn't know that Pizza Hut really delivered. First time I ever went to Starbucks, I'll be honest with you guys, I didn't understand what was happening. And that's the truth. I didn't know what a latte was. I thought coffee was coffee, I didn't understand spending $5 for coffee. But but I managed to accomplish a lot of stuff. Now, here's the thing. When I got to that peak, I guess, in transactions in my business, I was working 7 days a week, as close to 24 hours a day as I possibly could. I'm pretty sure I had a stomach ulcer, but I was scared to go to the doctor. And I wasn't getting along with my wife because I never really seen her. I just worked all the time. So fast forward a little bit later, I ended up getting a divorce. I was extremely burnt out on the real estate industry. I ended up disbanding my team. I probably took about 6 months off where I just done business that kind of fell in my lap, friends, family, past clients, that sort of thing. And I rented a condo on the ocean and I just hung out. That's what I did. And I really looked at getting out of the real estate industry. Um, I felt like it was hard. I didn't really. One thing I learned going through my divorce is I wasn't making near as much money as what I thought I was because my overhead was insane. I mean, I was spending money on website stuff. I was spending money on radio. I was spending money on mail. You name it, I was doing it. I had the talking house. I had the 1-800 numbers. I had the fancy signs. I was running around filling up flyer boxes, or I had an assistant running around filling up flyer boxes. Then I was dealing with all the problems that you have with rental stuff. And and with my rental management thing, when I decided that it was time that I stopped doing that, was I had my third hostage situation. And that's no joke. I actually had hostage situations. And somehow, being the property manager or owning the property management company, we were the ones that had to deal with that. We were the ones the police called and asked for a key. So, so when we were going through that, I said, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore." There's a lot of things in my life I just wasn't happy with, and so I stopped. So when I was taking that little break, I was thinking about like not getting into the real estate business, and I was researching or not getting back into the real estate business. I was researching what options I had, and I was researching, was there any other industry that we could make as much money as we do in the real estate business, per transaction. At the time I wasn't making much money overhaul because my overhead was really high. So I want to show you guys what I learned, and then I want to tell you guys what I did. So what I learned was that I need to reduce my overhead, right? And one of the things that I learned too was that with my buyer's agents, I had some scripts and I did a call with them every now and then, but I didn't really have like a system for everybody to follow. I just sent out leads on a round robin and hoped they went out and closed one. Nothing was replicable. There was no system in place for those whatsoever. And to be honest with you, I had absolutely no schedule. I woke up in the morning. Typically, my phone was waking me up around 6:30 in the morning. And then I would literally be miserable throughout the day until like sometimes 11, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'd end up going to bed because I'd finished the stuff for the day. I had absolutely no schedule. And leads, back then, I didn't think it was a big deal to pay $10, $12 for a buyer lead because I figured one out of every so many were going to close. And to be honest with you, I wasn't even tracking that. I just figured, hey, 1 out of 100's got to close. So if I'm spending $5 a lead, that's $500 a closing. That's not bad. Say an average price is $150,000. So I didn't really understand low cost leads, right? I didn't understand that my overhead was killing me. I didn't understand I had no replicable system, so I could never figure out what the problem was or how to raise my conversion rates or anything like that. And I had no schedule, which meant no time off. Guys, I remember going on a cruise with my ex-wife and getting off the boat. My voicemail was full, and it was people literally screaming into my voicemail because they couldn't get in touch with me, even though my voicemail said, I will be out of the country. It was the most insane thing ever. So what I learned was that you have to watch your overhead. You have to have replicable systems. You have to have a schedule, and you have to have low-cost leads. So one thing that I want to teach you guys is what I actually learned then. What happened was I researched all these other industries. I looked at commission per transaction, and what I realized is that we have the lottery ticket, right? Our real estate license, this is the golden ticket. What we have to do is we just have to go out there and use it in a manner that allows us to cash that ticket in. And that's the truth. We can go out and we can make the same money that professional athletes make. But the difference between us and, say, a football player or a baseball player is we have an unlimited amount of playing years, right? You can sell real estate until literally you can't walk and you can't see to drive anymore, right? I mean, there's no time limit. There is no, if you hurt your ankle, you can still go out there and sell a house. If you play football and you hurt your ankle, that could be a career-ending injury. right? So, but we can literally have an unlimited number of playing years. You just have to have a plan, and you have to make sure it's profitable. So where can you guys get more business today? So I wrote a book called 53 Strategies to Get More Listings. And I want to share with you guys, actually, I put 5 lead sources here, then I guess I got carried away and I ended up with 7. So guys, I'm going to go down through these real quick, tell you how to use them. And then I want to show you guys today how to build that schedule that actually works and how to get some replicable systems that are easy and cheap in your business. And by cheap, I don't mean that they're bad or anything. I just mean they're not going to cost you any money. Okay, because that's what I do with my coaching clients and all this stuff. Most of the stuff I talk about, if you join Real Estate Agents That Really Work, you listen to my YouTube channel. Most of the stuff I talk about is stuff that's low cost and no cost lead solutions. Now, the number one source of leads that I absolutely love, that I think is something that there's not as much competition as you think, is Craigslist. Okay. Now, there are a lot of services, like I prefer using RedX, but there are a lot of for sale by owner services that aggregate your leads. However, Craigslist, one of the things that you have is you have a lot of people nowadays that are actually using the Craigslist list exchange, and they are not actually putting their email address, and they're not putting their phone number. So they put typically a bad description of their house, and they put and they don't put any contact information for them. These Craigslist leads are like gold, and the only thing you have to do is you have to send them a quick email that just says, hey, what's the best number to reach you? And you would not believe how many of these leads will actually email you back the phone number and the best number to reach them at. And the thing is, it costs you literally no money at all. So I encourage every one of you guys, if you hadn't gone through Craigslist, to go do it. Craigslist also has for rent by owner ads on it, right? And nobody prospects for rent by owner ads. Now, here's the thing with these for rent by owners. Now, I'm not sure how strong the market is that you guys are in, how strong the rental market is, but here's the thing. These for rent by owners, we know that more than likely this is some sort of investment property. They became a landlord either by choice or they were forced to. They had a house they couldn't sell, so they couldn't pay the mortgage payment with it sitting empty, so they decided to rent it, so they became a landlord by default. Or they're an investor and they went out there, bought a house specifically to rent. So, but we do know that, and I can tell you guys this for sure, having managed 250 properties, when you get that problem tenant, you have this gut feeling and you want to be sick and you just want to get rid of that house. You want to do anything you can to get rid of the tenant and get rid of the house in most cases. So guys, following up those for rent by owner leads, right, or for rent by owners that are in Craigslist, and databasing those for long term. You know, if they signed a lease in the month of October in 2017, one thing we know for sure is that more than likely in October 2018, that 1-year lease ends. And the agent they're probably going to work with is, number one, the agent that they trust the most. The biggest thing that we're doing in the industry today is we don't broker information anymore. What we broker is we broker trust. Information's easily and readily available on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com. All over the internet, they can get whatever information they want. What we're brokering is trust and hopefully making transactions a little bit easier. Now, this for rent by owner, if you're the person that's following up with them every 4, 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, calling them up, just saying, hey, Mr. Seller, just wanted to give you a call. I was looking around the area there. I seen this house come on the market down the street from yours. I seen this house sold down the street from yours. I just want to touch base with you, see how everything's going. If you need any help, give me a call, right? If you're that agent that's following up with them every 30, 45 days, you've sent them your pre-listing package, you've sent them your stuff, and we'll get into that. You've sent them some information about you, your company, and what you do to sell real estate. Then you have a good chance that either when they start having that problem with the tenant or that tenant's lease expires and they're thinking about selling, that they will call you or they will respond to your follow-up call. But you have to follow up, because here's the thing. here's why you have to follow up. Because people want to do business with you. However, sometimes it's just not the right time, right? There are people right now that call me and they want to sell me real estate services and products and only God knows what. And it isn't, lots of times it isn't that I don't want to buy their product or I don't want to work with them. It's just that when they call me, maybe it was a bad time. Maybe I was busy, so they left me a voicemail. While we've been doing this webinar, I've had 3 calls. It isn't that I don't want to talk to the people. It's just that, hey, I'm busy. I'm spending time with you guys. And I looked at the call, right? And I want to call some of those people back. But, when we finish this, I got other things to do, and it's going to have to be later this afternoon. And to be honest with you, sometimes you just get busy and forget. Everybody's the same. So you have to follow up with them, So Facebook Marketplace is another great tool that I believe that agents are not utilizing correctly. The reason being is because Facebook Marketplace has a lot of stuff on there, right? Okay, but a lot of agents are putting a link on Facebook Marketplace, and Facebook is weeding those links, those external Facebook links, right? If it doesn't link within Facebook, it doesn't go out in people's list, right? It doesn't show up in people's timelines. So Facebook Marketplace, if you guys are using it, you need to post ads that do 2 things. One thing is they raise curiosity. The second thing is they create conversations. And honestly, we could have done a whole call on this Amber. But you need to place ads. You don't give necessarily all the information. You just put enough information to raise curiosity and create a conversation, because that's what, that house may not be the right house for, John Smith, right? So John Smith clicks on your link, looks at the pictures, and he never registers on the website. So you have no idea that John Smith is even looking for a house, right? And John Smith goes on out in the world. If you would have made a post that raised a little bit of curiosity, encourage John Smith to give you a call or send you a message through Facebook, then even if John Smith, maybe he's not interested in the $200,000 house, it's a little bit out of his price range, he's looking for something similar, maybe in a little bit different area that's, $175. You'd have never known that if you just put a link to your website. So I feel like a lot of agents don't understand how to use Facebook, and they don't understand that social media marketing isn't spamming a link. Social media marketing is creating conversations and being social. So all these companies that are trying to take agents' money to do a lot of different stuff, in my opinion, I think they're wrong. But I think that they don't know as much as what they think they do, because they're not providing information. They're not providing a resource to create those conversations you need to be able to actually do business through Facebook. Number 3, I think open houses are a great source of business for you guys. Now, open houses are going to do a couple of things for you. It brands you in the neighborhood. It gets your name out there. But if you do them correctly, and I'll give you like a little bit of an idea of what you got to do. So open houses, if you do them correctly, you can do a lot of business from them. But if you go out there, you stick your little red and white sign out in front of the house, you unlock the door, and you just kind of sit on the couch and watch TV and wait, you're probably not going to do much from open houses. Open houses take preparation. Guys, if you guys just planned, if you planned, 3, 4, 5 days out, you planned that you were going to go out there, you're going to knock on all the doors, invite all the neighbors to the open house. If they're not home, stick a flyer in the door, and it doesn't have to be like anything really, really elaborate. It just needs to be a 1-page flyer. It can be black and white. Just meet your company, meet Amber standards, right? For your open house. Stick it in the door. It just says something simple like, hey, my name is Jason Morris, or hey, open house on Saturday from 1 to 4. We'd love for you to come. If you'd like us to arrange if you can't make it and you'd like for us to arrange a special time for you, please give me a call. Right? That's all you got to do. Okay, and then when you have the open house, you got to have a sign-up sheet. You got to have a script ready for when people walk through the door. What's your question you ask them? How do you get them signed up on the sheet? And in my opinion, guys, it's got to be a written sheet. I know there's a lot of great apps out there agents use and stuff like that. However, the problem with a lot of those apps is people Sometimes people don't really fill them out, or sometimes people don't really, and there's no way for you to really know. If you have the sign-up sheet laying on the kitchen bar, or the kitchen table, and just say, "Hey, my seller wants to see how many people came. If you don't mind signing in, that'd be fantastic." When the market was really slow, we used to give out, a list of a list of foreclosures, and that was a really great incentive for people to actually give you their real email address and things like that. But these open houses, one of the things that happens is more than likely you're not going to sell the house you're doing the open house at. Every now and then you get lucky and you do, but sometimes you get buyers that actually want, they're qualified, and maybe that house isn't right for them, but they're looking for something else, Or lots of times, the greatest thing you get lots of times is you get nosy neighbors, right? That you get that nosy neighbor that is thinking about selling, and they want to see how their house compares, and those are the really good ones, And the thing is, you want to make sure when you do the open house, you want to make sure that you hit any expireds in the neighborhood that haven't sold. You want to make sure that you put that flyer and you invite everybody, even if it's a listing on the market, right? You can talk to, here's the thing about being a realtor. We think that, hey, if their house is listed, we can't go talk to them. Now, here's the thing. You can't talk to them about their house they have for sale, but you can invite them to your open house across the street. And you can follow up with them about the house across the street. You can't say, hey, fire your agent, come work with me, or hey, you should list your house with me. You can't really say that, but you can say, hey, Mr. Seller, I know you got your house for sale. Have an open house Saturday. Why don't you come over, have a cookie, have a cookie with us, But open houses are a fantastic source of business, and it's a fantastic way to get out there in front of people in that neighborhood. Now, you can't do the open house at the same house every week. It's going to kind of burn itself out. But that first one, if you go and invite all the community, knock on 150 doors the day before, 2 days before, invite everybody, stick flyers in the doors, you're typically going to have a good turnout. Like when I do that in my market, I will have 20 to 25 people show up. And it's a pretty decent open house. Okay, number four is my favorite. I wrote a book called How to Be a FSBO Master. If you guys want a copy, send me a message through Facebook or send me an email at jasonmorriscoaching@gmail.com. I'll send you the PDF version for free. But for sale owners are my favorite seller to work with, because they want to sell their house because they bought one of those little red white signs from Walmart or Home Depot, and they have it sticking in their front yard, and they wrote it on with a Sharpie. And driving around, I'll tell you guys this. One thing that I've just made it a habit to do is I do not drive by a for sale owner without stopping and writing down the number. And typically when I'm on the way to an appointment, I'm on the way to who knows what, every now and then I like to take a little different way home, drive through a neighborhood I hadn't driven through in a while. I stop, I got a notebook with me, I write down the for sale owner number, I write down, some stuff about the house. And if you have time, or if I have time, I will call while I'm sitting in their front yard. Even if it is to set an appointment for later on that day or the next day, right? And the script is really easy. It's, hey, Mr. Seller, this is Jason Morris with Realty Company, and I wanted to give you a call. I'm sitting out in your front yard. I seen your for sale owner sign. I was on the way to another appointment, and I wanted to ask you some questions. How much do you want for the house? How soon do you want to sell it? What kind of condition it is? Sounds great. Can we see it on Tuesday? Right? And that's one of the things too with these for sale owners. You have to dictate the time. You have to dictate the time that you want to meet them. The biggest objection that we all create as real estate agents for ourselves is asking a seller or a client. You get to the conversation, they like what you're telling them, you can set the appointment, and you go, well, Mr. Seller, well, Mr. Buyer, what time works for you? And they go, I don't know. I have to talk to my wife and get back to you. And then you never hear back from them, right? Because here's the thing. You gave them the perfect objection to everything you said, and you gave them the perfect out to meeting you. However, if you just said, hey, Mr. Seller, can we meet today at 4 o'clock? Can we meet tomorrow at 2 p.m.? Whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, you have to work. Do you normally work from 9 to 5? Okay, well, how about we meet at 6? That gives you a chance to get home and kind of get a little bit settled before I get there. Does that work for you? You dictating the time. Think about it this way. We're professionals. And I believe that we're professionals just like a doctor, a dentist, or an attorney. When you call up your an attorney or you call a dentist, let's use dentist because that's a great example. When you call a dentist, they don't just say, "Hey Jason, just come on in when you feel like it, man. Come on in when you have a little bit of time." They say, "Oh no, we have an appointment at 2 o'clock." And that's part of them having a schedule and a schedule of operating hours because they are a real business. So therefore, if we want to be a real business, we need to set ourselves up like a real business, right? So with these for sale owners, you dictate the time to put them in your schedule. You have to take control of the situation and take control of the conversation. And here's the thing, once you start doing that, once you get through that conversation, you start going, how about we meet Tuesday at 2? How about we meet Wednesday at 4? I've got some time on Thursday, or I've got an appointment on Thursday at 2. Would you like to meet before then or after then? Okay, after then. How about we set it for 3:30? How about we set it for 4? When you start dictating the time, you're going to notice that you're going to start setting more appointments. Okay, number 5, door knocking and property previewing. This is something, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't door knock a whole lot anymore. The reason being is the time that I can walk the 10 houses, I could probably have called 50 people on the phone, But it is just a time thing for me. But in the past, I've got a tremendous amount of business from door knocking and property previewing. Now, here's the thing a lot of agents do. They think property previewing, you're just going to look at the house for sale. But that's not true. You going to look at that house for sale gives you a perfect opportunity to create a strategy around that. Now, you go look at that house for sale, and typically the way I learned to do this a long time ago is to create a strategy around it. And there's a lot of different ones. There's 5, 5, 10, which means you knock on 5 doors to the left, 5 doors to the right, and 10 doors across the street. And the script that you use is really easy. It's just you knock on the door, "Hey, Mr. Seller," or "Hey, Mr. Homeowner, this is Jason Morris from Realty Company, and I just wanted to see, I'm looking at the house next door, and our company works with a lot of buyers, and I wanted to see if you knew anybody else maybe thinking about selling in the neighborhood." And sometimes, unbelievably, sometimes people go, "Yeah, we're thinking about selling. Yeah, how much can I get for my house?" Or even better, they go, "Oh, the house down the street with the blue door, they've been talking about selling." And then what you do is you go, "Oh, okay, well, that's great. What was your name again?" And they give you their name. And then you walk down to the house with the blue door and say, "Hey, Tom Smith that lives in 136 told me that I should talk to you. You're thinking about selling your house. I'm Jason Morris, and I sell real estate." Right? It's a really easy, simple process. The thing that most agents do is they overcomplicate their processes and their systems until they just can't do them. Right? So number 6, and we're going to get through the rest of this kind of quick. I only got like 15 more minutes if we're going by the time frame I told Amber. So number 6 is expires. Okay, expires are really important, and a really important lead source. We get them for free off MLS. Now, my preference is to actually give them a call, and to call expireds nowadays, you have to use a service. The services that give you the numbers are so cheap that it doesn't make sense to look them up yourself. However, I understand being on a budget, and I understand, sometimes being a new agent, you don't necessarily have the money to call expireds. So the thing is, you get a list of expireds every day. You can look them up in your MLS. Now, those expireds, you can send them a mail, but it needs to be a really good mail piece. It's got to be something that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't look like junk mail. Because let's face it, every day I feel like my mailbox is full of junk mail, and it doesn't even get in the house anymore. It gets weeded out the trash can before I get to the door. However, you can always door knock expireds. You can door knock around expireds. You can look their numbers up on whitepages.com. You can look them up on Facebook. There's so many options rather than subscribing to a service like RedX. And by the way, if you guys do want to service RedX, if you tell them that I sent you Jason Morris, you tell them you're in real estate agents that really work, they waive the $150 setup fee, and they have some really cheap, low-cost options. Okay, number 7 is like one of my secret weapons here. A few minutes ago, we talked about for rent by owners. Okay, in most markets, I don't know how it works in yours, so you have to do a little bit of research. This is one that if you don't have much time, or if you don't have much money, you typically have a lot of time. This is one that takes a little time to do. However, the leads you guys get are gold, and that's why I put it on here. Calling landlords that have filed an eviction or the eviction is in process now. You want to, now you can call them, you can send a mail, you don't want to door knock, you don't want to contact the tenant that's living there, things like that, because the tenant living there, they're being evicted. We probably can't sell them a house. If they're not paying their rent, they're probably not paying other things either. Because let's face it, basic needs, shelter is one of them. We got to have a place to live. So if they're not paying rent, they're probably not paying other bills, so they probably can't buy a house from us. But that landlord in the middle of the eviction, like we talked about a little bit ago, when you're evicting a tenant and you've got to that point, you're just sick of the whole situation. And a lot of these landlords that are going through that, they just want to get rid of the house. And now's a fantastic time, because if they tried to sell it a year or two ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, they might have been upside down. But today, most of the country has gotten so much appreciation and prices have went up and inventories went down so much that if they were upside down 3 years ago, they can probably walk away with a paycheck today at closing, right? So these landlords that have filed evictions are an amazing source of business. You just have to do a little bit of work. For us in my market, we have a judicial site. We can actually look up the evictions on the judicial site. A lot of markets seem to be online when I've talked to other agents and I've shared this strategy with them. If not, you can probably go down to the local mattress office or whatever municipality or government organization you guys file evictions with and ask them, hey, how can I get a list of evictions that are filed? And you're calling the property owner, not the tenant living in the house. All right, so guys, the next thing I want to share with you is how to build a schedule that works. Here's the craziest thing about the real estate business is we all got in the business to have more freedom and to make more money. Well, usually one of those two things. We either wanted to make more money or wanted to have more freedom. The problem is most of us never built a schedule for ourselves. We were always used to somebody else dictating when we worked and when we didn't work, and we just followed. So most of us don't really know what to do with our time, and that's why we have real estate agents that wake up in the morning and play PlayStation half the day or play video games half the day, or they're sitting in their office and they don't really know what to do because they don't know how to schedule their time. And the thing is, if we worked at any other job, we probably wouldn't be employed if we showed up the same way we show up for our real estate career, for our real estate job, right? Because I'm a little bit different than a lot of these people that are coaches and stuff, because I believe that we have to treat our business like a business, and we have to treat our day like a work day, right? And we have to have a time blocked scheduled work day. So that's the thing. If you want to really, really get to a realization with what you have going on in your business and you can't figure out why you can't just break through, start looking at the days you worked, right? Get out your calendar and look back, 5 days, 10 days, mark off the days you actually done something where you went out and attempted to generate more business, right? If you don't have any business, look at the activities you've been doing to generate business. And sometimes a lot of us find that we're really not doing much to get more business, or we're not doing as much as we think we are to get more business. So I want to show you guys how to build a schedule that works. Okay. So I've done this slide for a full-time agent, but I understand that some of you guys are probably listening to this are part-time. So the number one thing we need to put in our schedule, and I believe we should try to make a schedule out as far as we can, but I understand that sucks sometimes, and sometimes you don't really know what you need to do. So what we're going to talk about today is making a schedule out to the end of the year. Now, we got a lot of things going on at the end of the year. We got Thanksgiving. Well, we got Halloween in a couple days. We got Thanksgiving, and we got Christmas. And if you celebrate Hanukkah, we got that going on too. So you got to plan around all those things because all those times are big family times, and sometimes it's a little bit unpredictable. However, with it just being a month away, 2 months away, most of us kind of know what we're going to do, roughly what we're going to do, for Thanksgiving and Christmas now. So get out your calendar the next 60 days and go ahead and write down what days you're planning to work, what days you're going to do real estate business, and what days you're going to do holidays in your family time, right? And family time, now this is all your family time. If you got to do something with your kids, you got football games you got to go to, you've got after school programs, recital, Christmas programs, whatever it may be. Go ahead and write them all down in your schedule. Okay, because those things, in my experience, you can't really negotiate those things. If your child is in the Christmas play, you can't really miss the Christmas play, and they're not going to change the time of the Christmas play for you, right? So if you've got date night on Wednesdays, whatever it is, go ahead and put all your family time in your schedule. Now, if you guys work another job, right? So you're employed somewhere else full-time, or maybe you're employed part-time and you're doing real estate part-time, put your work schedule for your other job, put that in, because that's non-negotiable. Most people work in jobs. They're not going to let you decide what days you want to work and what days you don't want to work. You're going to have to be there when they tell you, and or you're probably not going to work there. So put that in first, right? Then put your family time in. Okay, then number 2 is non-time negotiable business commitments. Okay, and what I mean by this is continuing education, if you've got to do that, an appointment with your accountant, things that are business commitments, coaching calls, right? Things that are business commitments that they're not going to move the time up or down or back or forward or whatever because, you got to go meet a client. You know what I mean? These are non-negotiable business commitments. If you guys are networking a lot and trying to build your sphere of influence and you're going to chamber events, they're not going to change the chamber event time because a client called you, right? So go ahead and put those in your schedule to the end of the year or next 30 to 60 days. Number 3, when are you going to prospect and lead generate? Because here's the thing for me. If it isn't in my schedule, it's not going to happen. If I wouldn't have wrote this down and put this in my schedule, this call would have never happened this morning. So you have to plan or you're just not going to do. So prospecting is the engine that keeps our business going. If you don't have any business, your job is to go out and look for business, right? Even if you have a lot of business, you still need to go out there and plan time to prospect and look for more business, because here's the thing. This is why a lot of agents, have a fantastic month and then they have a month that really sucks. Sometimes they have 2 months that really suck. And then they have a fantastic month again, and then they have a couple more months that suck. So a lot of agents have this whole up and down thing, right? Because they prospect really, really hard for like 30 days. Then they go out there and work with all these clients for like 30 days, and then they get some closings and stuff. And then once those closings close, they're basically out of business until they go out and find more clients again, right? So we have to schedule time to prospect, and we need a consistent prospecting schedule. And we'll have to do another call and talk more about prospecting and more about what you need to do as far as putting that in that. But this is the time you're door knocking. This is when you're going to do open houses. This is when you're going to call for sale by owners. This is when you're going to contact expireds. This is you going out looking for new business, because this is the lifeblood of your business, is prospecting and lead generation time. I mean, this could be the time you set aside that you're going to post Craigslist ads. You're going to post Facebook Marketplace ads, whatever it may be. You got to schedule that. And then everything else falls in after that. So that's an easy way to kind of make your schedule and get started with that. But here's the thing. When you make the schedule, you got to follow it, and it's hard at first. I'm going to tell you guys, anytime you make changes in your life, it's a little bit hard. However, after a week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks, I'll tell you what, like the most freedom I felt like I had was when I had a schedule that I was actually following and doing, and I was prospecting at a certain time. I was going to appointments at a certain time. And I'll tell you guys, for a while, when I first got back in the business, I was in that kind of like hangout mode where, I just taken about 6 months off. I was getting back in. And here's the thing, guys, if you're scheduling and you're hitting your goals for number of appointments, you can just go home after that. So a lot of these days, I would go into the office and I would just hammer out the phones, right? And I would get my calls. I'd set my appointments. I'd go on an appointment or two in the afternoon. Then I would just kind of go home. Or sometimes I'd go home and take like a 2-hour lunch. Once you have that plan and once you have it set up, it gives you so much freedom versus just kind of waking up and reacting. When I was doing 400 transactions a year, my day was spent reacting to everybody else's wants, needs, only God knows what. When I took and I quit doing that and I started a schedule and I started following that schedule, then I was, instead of being reactive, I was being proactive and had a tremendous amount of freedom. And I still do. I have a tremendous amount of freedom in my day. Most of the time, I'm home typically by like 5:15. We usually eat dinner at 6. I mean, my day is so scheduled. I have agents that ask me if they can shadow me, and I always tell them they're welcome to come to Myrtle Beach and shadow me. However, here's the thing: my day is actually like pretty boring because it's pretty like scheduled, and not a lot of excitement happens. But but I like that, and it's made my business predictable. Your schedule will make your business predictable. Predictable prospecting is going to lead to predictable leads, and that's going to lead to predictable appointments, which are going to lead to listings and closings. And guys, the more listings you have, the more buyer leads you're going to have, and the more closings you're going to have. Here's the thing about going, and I didn't put this in one of my slides, but I want to tell you guys, a lot of agents right now, a lot of agents I coach have really buyer heavy businesses. I'm talking about like super buyer heavy businesses. Okay. And the thing is, they're reacting all day long, running all these people around. Now, here's the thing, you can have 50 buyers that are qualified, ready to buy. You can't show them all properties this week, but you can have 50 sellers. And you can set up your showings on something like Showing Time or centralized showings, whatever showing service you guys use in your area. All those listings can get shown today while you're not even in town. We're going out of town this week. I'll tell you, I got 2 offers today. These offers are going to work themselves out without me being in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or without me being in the area. Amazing story is, this was about 2-3 years ago. We were on a cruise and we were out in the Caribbean for 7 days and floating around on a boat. While we were going, I sold 3 properties. I made $18,000 gross commissions while we were on vacation. I had internet access. Everybody emailed me contracts. I emailed them to the sellers. We worked it out through email, and I was hanging out, drinking margaritas and, eating bacon off the buffet. So, so guys, changing your business from a buyer-based business to a seller-based business is what's also going to help you leverage your time. It's going to leverage your money. It's going to leverage a lot of those resources that you just can't get more of. And it's also going to bring your overhead down. So instead of, spending $1,000 a month on Zillow, you can go out there or spend $200 on getting seller leads, and you can get all the buyer leads you can handle from signs and natural internet syndication. So guys, I got one more thing I want to go over with real quick, and I promise it won't take me very long, is you got to have replicable systems in your business. And I'm going to show you a few here that I believe that you have to have to do more business. Now, one of the things you need is you need to start building some tools for yourself. And these are the things that make you look like a real agent, right? You need to have on your Facebook profile, and I'm going to give you a list here. And I should have made a slide to give you guys a list, but you got to look like an agent online. People are looking you up on Facebook right now, and a lot of you don't even have that you're a real estate agent. Well, a lot of real estate agents do not have on their Facebook that they're a real estate agent. I see it all the time. People want to join real estate agents that really work. And I look down through their profile, and they got some properties posted, but they don't have like, hey, I work for XYZ company. Hey, I work for this. And people just assume, hey, they're just selling, sharing a house they like or something. So you got to look like a real estate agent online. have it on your Facebook profile. Make sure you set up your Zillow profile. Make sure you set up your Truly. And I'm not talking about paying for these things. I'm just talking about, hey, if somebody looks you up, if they Google you and search your name plus the city, they want to see like, hey, Jason Morris is a real estate agent. He's not a random person that's checking out my house and my stuff from Craigslist, right? Another thing that you need is you need a pre-listing package. If you go to jasonmorrisprelistingpackage.com, you can download my template for free. You guys can fill it out and fill in your stuff. And basically what this is, what your pre-listing package is it is your marketing plan. It is going to set you apart from other agents because 99% of the agents in your market have nothing to send a seller that talks about them, their company, and what they do to sell homes. And think about that, guys. What sellers really want is to sell their house, right? And typically they're going to hire the agent that they trust the most and that actually has a plan or has what they feel like is the best plan. One way that I get listings over agents over and over and over again is I'll be talking to a seller and they say, oh, we think we've got an agent picked out, or we've got somebody we've decided on. My response is, guys, that's great. I tell you what, let me send you over my marketing plan. Let me email it over to you. It's a PDF. You can look at it. And what I want you to do is look at my plan and ask them for their plan. And that way you can compare them side by side and make sure that you're getting everything you should be getting from the agent that you choose to work with, right? Or they say, oh, well, I'm interviewing multiple agents. That's fantastic, because here's the thing. I always set up those sellers and ask them, hey, well, I tell you what, I'm going to send you over my marketing plan. Why don't you ask them for theirs? That way you can lay them side by side. And then 9.9 out of 10 times the other agent doesn't have anything to send, or they have something that they prepared on the spot right then that really looks kind of bad. And but I tell you, this tool, I send it to every single person that tells me they want to sell their house. I think it is the number one tool in my listing toolbox, right? The number two things that you have to have is you have to have scripts. Okay, and I want to tell you guys the magic that happens in a script. The magic that happens with a script is not the actual script. When a script becomes magical, it's when you've used that script and you've talked to 10 agents, you've talked to 20, well, you've talked to 10 sellers, you've talked to 100 sellers, you've talked to 500 sellers. Okay, then all of a sudden, you know all the answers to all the questions on the whole thing. So anything that somebody tells you, any objection somebody has, any answer they have, you already know what it is. You know, right? So you know what you know the answers to all the questions, you know the objections you're going to get to all the questions, and you know how to overcome those objections. That's when a script gets really powerful, and that's when a script gets really magical, right? Now, the other thing you need, other than the script, the initial script when you get on the call, is you need to practice everything. You need to practice, what do you do when you go to the door? What do you do walking through the house? I use an active pricing strategy, right? And it's how I explain to sellers how we're pricing their house and how we're coming up with that price. You have to practice everything you're doing. You have to practice your net sheet. You have to practice your pricing strategy. You have to practice going through your paperwork. And I'll tell you, the thing I see with a lot of agents is, you know, we typically have, in the state of South Carolina, we only have 5 or 6 forms that we have to actually use. Okay. And the thing is, most agents, they can sit there and they can read those forms to somebody, but they don't know how to actually explain them in an easy to understand manner, like on a 3rd grade level. And I'm not saying a 3rd grade level because I think your clients are stupid. I'm saying a 3rd grade level because nobody's seen these things. You know, nobody reads legal documents all the time, right? We're comfortable with them because we see them, we live, breathe, and we would eat real estate if we could, you know. So, but your average seller, even the ones that they're really experienced, more than likely they've only sold like 2 or 3 homes before. So them going out and them going out and actually seeing this information anywhere other than you sitting in front of them is probably never happened before. And the biggest thing I see is that brokers in charge, they have classes and they get up there, they read the paperwork to an agent word for word. The agent goes on appointment, reads it word for word. And I'll give you guys an example here. We have about an 1.5-inch paragraph in the state of South Carolina that talks about the sex offenders list. And you read that word for word, and it looks a little bit scary. It talks about sex offenders, and nobody wants to deal with that. I've actually had sellers where I sent them the paperwork, and they contacted me and said, "Oh, we can't sign it because it wants us to guarantee there's not a sex offender in the neighborhood." They aren't guaranteeing a sex offender's not in the neighborhood. It just discloses there's a list out there if somebody wants to check it. That paragraph gets so in my market for some reason on my appointments. That paragraph is like the biggest misunderstanding, and it's so easy to overcome, and it's so easy to explain what it is if you don't read it word for word. If you read it word for word, it's like, oh my God, that's really scary. And all it means is there's a sex offender list out there if you want to check it. Now, the biggest thing that I see with a lot of agents is they sit there, they have a fantastic, fantastic appointment with sellers. The seller loves everything they're saying. They like the price they talk about. They like the net sheet. They liked everything. They get to the paperwork. The agent goes down through the paperwork. They basically read 10 pages to them of a legal document. The seller's eyes are rolling back in the head. They get to the end of it. The husband looks at the wife and says, "I think we need to think about it before we sign this." And then you leave the paperwork with them, and next thing you know, a week later, it's listed with another agent. You had the perfect opportunity. The problem happened when you got to the paperwork because the agent didn't know how to properly explain it to make everyone feel comfortable with what is happening. And that's the thing. Like I said a minute ago, the biggest thing that we broker nowadays, guys, is trust. And your whole process from the moment you call them to the moment you're sitting there at their kitchen table with them going over that paperwork needs to build trust and build a level of trust. So, guys, I really appreciate you guys having me today. I really appreciate you letting me do this, Amber. And if I can help you guys, join my group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work, on Facebook. I offer group coaching. I just had a follow-up day planner just come out that you can check out at followupmasterdayplanner.com. I also offer group coaching, and if I can help you guys, just send me a message. I'll be happy to.